بسم الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. We spoke on the first session of the Prophet Hud. We spoke about his da'wah, مضمون دعوته. What did Hud alayhi salam call these people to? We also spoke about the background of these people, that they were strong, they were built, they were tall, they were rich, they were affluent, that these were some of the, top class people of the world. And then we spoke about their response to the Prophet Hud alayhi salam. Today we finally come to the end of this group of people, the people of Ad. How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with these people? Allah says, وَتِلْكَ عَادٌ, that those people were Ad. جَهَدُوا بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ وَعَصَوْا رُسُلَهُ وَاتَّبَعُوا أَمْرَ كُلِّ جَبَّارٍ عَنِيدٍ. That these people, they rejected the signs, they rejected the proofs, they rejected the miracles, the evidences, the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of their Lord, and they disobeyed His messengers. وَاتَّبَعُوا أَمْرَ كُلِّ جَبَّارٍ عَنِيدٍ. That these people, instead of following the righteous prophets, they decided to follow the command of every tyrant and every arrogant and every stubborn person. Meaning they would follow the arrogant, stubborn, and tyrant type people. And so finally, Hud alayhi salam, after advising them, they still did juhud. They kept saying no, no, no. They kept rejecting. And so finally, Hud alayhi salam, he actually makes the shortest dua in the Quran. In fact, this is so short that it's the shortest dua that any prophet has ever made. He says, رَبِّ انصُرْنِي بِمَا كَذَّبُونَ. Oh Allah, help me, for they have denied. Oh Allah, help me, for they have denied you, oh Allah. That's it. That's all he says, help me. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He sees the dua of a prophet, He accepts the dua of a prophet. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His sunan, or from His ways, what does He do with the people that are stubborn? What does He do with the people that deny? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before doing their isti'sal, before exterminating them, before getting rid of them, before giving them the final punishment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He puts them and He stops them into a circle of need. Haja. What does this mean? It means that Allah will put them in a lesser punishment, an easier punishment, something that they can handle, just so that they feel like they are in need of Allah. Just so they will do tadarru, that they will humble themselves, that they will turn back, And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that. He put them in a state of drought. He put them without water, so that they would say, oh Allah, give us water. Oh Allah, forgive us. Oh Allah, astaghfirullah, we need water. Allah gave them that. So He gave them a lesser punishment, a punishment in which they would have to need and call out to Allah. But because of their arrogance, because of their stubbornness, because of the fact that they did not want to listen, they never asked Allah one time. Right? And so the definition of someone who does juhud, someone who denies and rejects Allah, when they do that, after they reject Allah period after period, what ends up happening is that their stubbornness and their arrogance increase. And they go further and further and further away. And as their stubbornness increases and their arrogance increases against the truth, this causes them to become more corrupt in action. They become worse as human beings. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He did this with the people of Ad. He brought them a drought, no rain, just so they would turn back, and they didn't turn back. They continued to build their lavish cities. They continued to build in the mountains without a thought. They continued to oppress the weak. They continued to take advantage of the lower classes. They continued to worship other than Allah. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the solution of the people who are given blessings and they don't show Allah shukr, they don't thank Allah? And what is the solution of a people who, when they are put in hard times, they don't become humble and turn back? So when they're in ni'mah and blessing, they're not grateful. When they're in niqmah, when they're in trial and tribulation, they don't turn back. So what should Allah do with these types of people that are neither grateful nor do they turn to Allah, no matter the situation? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finally has to do something to them. He has to punish them. Let me give you an example that will make it clear. Think of a body, right? A body might have a part of it that's sick. That part of it, if you go to the doctor will tell you, well, we need to amputate that body part. You need your foot, you need your hands, you need all your body parts. Everything is useful. But the reality is that certain body parts, when they are required to be amputated, when they're required to be taken away, it's because they affect the rest of the body. And so in the same exact way, the people of Ad, they were affecting the rest of humanity. They were corrupting other people. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He decided to take care of them. The people of Ad became a disease on humanity. They were the most richest, they were the most famous, they were the most strongest. But yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to destroy them. And so, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. And so this first punishment, which was the drought, this is called uquba ta'dibiyya, adab. The uquba in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reprimands. He tries to get them to straighten out, right? For example, a parent says that, if you don't behave, you'll watch 2 or 3 hours less of TV in the week or something, or you don't get to do this, right? But if the child does not respond, then comes the final punishment. No more TV in the house, something like that. So in the same exact way, Allah did one punishment in order to correct them. They didn't pay heed. And so now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to do istisal, which is to get rid of them, clean the slate. And so no iman, no advice, no nothing. La yanfa'u imanuhum. Right? Their iman would not help these people. Just like Fir'aun. We mentioned that Fir'aun, when he drowned, he said, I believe in Allah, right when he's drowning. At that point, his iman doesn't help. And so they became worse and worse. And in fact, a sign of their arrogance and their stubbornness is, what do they say to Hud? They say, قَالُوا أَجِئْتَنَا لِتَأْفِكَنَا عَنْ آلِهَتِنَا. That, oh Hud, have you come here to talk to us so that we turn away from our aliha, that we turn away from our gods? فَأْتِنَا بِمَا تَعِدُنَا. Bring us that which you threaten us with. Bring us that which you promise us. Bring us this punishment that you claim, in kunta min as-sadiqin, if you're truly truthful. And so they thought in their mind that if they challenged Hud, and they challenged Allah, and they challenged the Lord of Hud, that Hud and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not deliver on their promise. They thought, we're going to be safe. We're the strongest. We're the most powerful. We have the tools. We have the military might. Nothing can touch us. And so they were trying to see, if Allah would actually punish them, because they thought Allah wouldn't. They thought there would be no punishment. Eventually rain would come and they would be on the winning sides of things. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions what Hud alayhi salam says in response to these people. The first thing that Hud alayhi salam says is in Surah Al-A'raf. He says, قَدْ وَقَعَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ رِجْسٌ وَغَضَبٌ. That قَدْ وَقَعَ عَلَيْكُمْ, that what has fallen upon you all from your Lord is none other than His rijsun wa ghadab. Allah's torment and His anger has befallen on you. What does it mean? He says that it has already fallen. Has it already fallen? No, it hasn't already fallen. But the reason why Hud alayhi salam, he says, قَدْ وَقَعَ عَلَيْكُمْ. He speaks in the past tense to say that your fate is sealed. Allah is angry with you. Once Allah is angry with you, khalas, there's nothing that will save you in this world, right? Nothing will come to your aid. The matter is decided. And Allah has decided to show you the manifestation of His anger in the form of a punishment. So no tawbah will benefit you. This is the first thing Hud says. Then he says, أَتُجَادِلُونَنِي فِي أَسْمَاءٍ سَمَّيْتُمُوهَا أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ مَا نَزَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهَا مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. That you all argue with me over names which you have named, you and your fathers. You argue with me, right? And you have no authority to argue. You have nobody that gave you permission to argue. You have no authority from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to argue. None of you are prophets. فَانْتَظِرُوا إِنِّي مَعَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُنْتَظِرِينَ. Then he says, then wait. He tells them to wait. And he says, I'm going to wait with you all. What is he saying? He's saying that you don't think a punishment is coming? Let's sit here. Let's see what happens. He's challenging them now. So they were challenging him. They were saying, give us the punishment. Hud alayhi salam is turning it around and he's saying, I'm challenging you now, right? And so this is the second thing that he says. And the third thing he says is when they ask him for the punishment over and over and over again in Surah Al-Ahqaf, Hud alayhi salam, he says, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, that indeed the knowledge of when this punishment will happen is with Allah. وَأُبَلِّغُكُم مَّا أُرْسِلْتُ بِهِ وَلَكِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ قَوْمًا تَجْهَلُونَ, that I am here simply to deliver the letter and the message from Allah, right? وَلَكِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ قَوْمًا تَجْهَلُونَ, but I see you as a people of ignorance, as a people of jahala, right? And so look at this. Look at the humility of Hud alayhi salam first. First of all, Hud says, I don't know. He says, I don't know when the punishment will come. This shows the humility of a prophet, right? The second thing is that the knowledge of punishments, the knowledge of the beginning of civilizations, the end of civilizations, the rise of civilizations, all of this is in the knowledge of Allah. إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, right? And so Allah knows when these people are going to go down. That's one side, the knowledge of Allah. Allah can bring the punishment on you if Allah wants to, and then when Allah wants to, you won't be able to escape. And so the matter of punishment is the matter of Allah. Allah decides when these things happen. As for the matter of conveying the message, this is on the responsibility of the prophets, just like Hud alayhi salam. And so Hud doesn't know the time of when the punishment will happen, nor does he know how the punishment will happen, nor does he know what the punishment is going to be. He doesn't know anything about it, right? لا يعرف النبي هذه الأمور. No prophet knows how the punishment will come. But the most interesting that the thing that Hud says is وَلَكِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ قَوْمًا تَجْهَلُونَ. After he says that Allah knows, and then he says, I'm just here to give you a message, he says, وَلَكِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ قَوْمًا تَجْهَلُونَ, that I see you all as a people of ignorance, as a people of jahl. Qawmul jahl. Now, this is extremely important to mention because it was because of their ignorance, their lack of knowledge, that they ended up falling into what they fell into. When somebody is ignorant of Allah and they're ignorant of the realities of life and they have a false perception of what will happen in the future, it ends up leading them to stubbornness. It ends them leading to rebellion against Allah. For example, your friend tells you, hey, don't do this. If you do this, this will happen. Or a parent says, don't do this, my son. Don't do this, my daughter. And what does the kid do? The kid says, well, you don't know. But in reality, the parents know. The parents know the outcome of what will happen. But yet kids argue. And what do kids do? They become stubborn. And then they rebel. And then they fight back. And then eventually when the consequence comes, then what do the parents say? I told you so. I told you so. Right? In the same exact way, these people were ignorant. They didn't know what they were doing. Right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this very ayah that Hud is saying, Allah knows and you guys don't know. Don't do this. You guys don't know. So even till the end, even when he's done with them, he's still giving them da'wah. He's still saying, maybe one of you will turn back. Maybe one of you will change. Maybe one of you will realize that Allah is the most knowledgeable and you all don't know anything. Till the very end. And so this shows us the ahammi of ilm, that we should have knowledge. We should understand things as they are. And look at the words of the Quran. And so the scholars, they say that all major sins, all major mistakes in life and stubbornness are all associated to ignorance. All major sins are associated to ignorance, right? And so, for example, the people of Musa alayhi salam, when Musa went up to Mount Sinai and he came back down, they were dancing around a golden calf. These were people that technically believed in Allah, but because they saw other people worshiping idols, they started worshiping idols too. What does Musa say to them? Innakum qawmun tajhalun. That you people are ignorant. You don't know any better. What's wrong with you? Don't you have knowledge? Don't you think? So this is what Musa alayhi salam says. Lut alayhi salam, when he warns his people, he says, men don't go to men. Men don't have relationships with men. And when they did those things, Lut, he said, innakum qawmun tajhalun, that indeed you people are ignorant. And so every major sin, from homosexuality, from shirk, from from asking for the punishment from Allah, for asking for death, all of these major sins of death and shirk and liwat, which is homosexuality, all of them are tied to ignorance. That's what all the prophets are saying, that only ignorant people would fall into these sins, because intellectual people could never fall into shirk. Intellectual people could never associate partners with Allah. Intellectual people could never fall into homosexuality. Intellectual people would never ask for punishment. Only ignorant people would do that. And so the ignorant person, more than his enemy, he harms himself. Your own ignorance harms you. And this is why the Quran, it says, ظُلُمَاتٌ بَعْضُهَا فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ إِذْ أَخْرَجَ يَدَهُ لَمْ يَكَدْ يَرَاهَا وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِن نُور. That an ignorant person is like a person in darkness. And Allah gives a beautiful, metaphor example. He says, ظُلُمَاتٌ بَعْضُهَا فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ. That the ignorant person, he is in darkness and on top of darkness. That there's so much darkness over him. إِذْ أَخْرَجَ يَدَهُ لَمْ يَكَدْ يَرَاهَا. That when he sticks his hand out in the darkness, he can't see his hands. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِن نُور. And whosoever Allah does not give light. What is light? Knowledge is light. الْعِلْمُ نُور. Knowledge is light. Whosoever Allah doesn't give light, no one can give that person light. Right? And so this was the case of these people. Darkness upon darkness. And so he says, oh, you ignorant people, oh, you poor people, just turn back up to Allah. But these people, they said, oh, we're the strongest. Right? We're the strongest people on earth. And guess what? They're seeing everything around them. They're seeing the seeds of the trees dry. They're seeing the leaves dead. They're seeing the trunks and the branches of the palms withering away. They're seeing the punishment of Allah in front of their eyes. Yet they're not recognizing anything. They're not understanding. Why? Because what's blocking them? Their arrogance, their stubbornness, right? For example, if you ever try to argue with a stubborn or arrogant person, what happens? They can't listen, right? Because their eyes are blind. They close their shutters. And so that's what these people are doing. And so the Mufassirun, they say that these people, after a certain period of time, around 3 years, they came out and they were deciding to celebrate a festival, an Eid, right? And so just like the people of Ibrahim, these people, they went out and they decided to go worship their biggest idol. And now imagine, they're going out on a field of land, their biggest idol is there, and it's super hot outside, it's a drought. What are they doing with the idol? They're saying, oh idol, give us rain. Aghithna, give us rain. Give us rain. They're asking from the idol. And so they keep doing this, they keep doing this, they keep doing this. And Hud keeps coming from the back and saying, just turn back to Allah, just ask Allah, stop asking the idol. And so eventually a cloud does come. فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ عَارِضًا مُسْتَقْبِلَ أَوْدِيَتِهِمْ قَالُوا هَذَا عَارِضٌ مُمْطِرُنَا. That they eventually see a dense cloud. عَارِضًا is a cloud which is very black, and you know that rain is going to come in. You know, when you see the dark clouds in the sky, you know rain is going to come. مُسْتَقْبِلَ أَوْدِيَتِهِمْ, that it's coming to their valleys. These people, they lived in valleys and their houses were on the mountain. So they were in the middle area, right? أَوْدِيَتِهِمْ قَالُوا هَذَا عَارِضٌ مُمْطِرُنَا. This is a cloud, a rain cloud that's going to bring us rain. بَلْ هُوَ مَسْتَعْجَلْتُمْ بِهِ. But what they didn't realize is that cloud was not rain for them. In fact, that cloud was a torment that they themselves asked for, that they rushed towards that cloud. So these people are literally running towards the cloud that's about to punish them. رِيحٌ فِيهَا عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. That within this cloud, there's going to be a wind that will be a very painful punishment for them, a painful torment. And so they thought this dark cloud was a sign of rain. But what they failed to understand, again, their perception, their viewpoint. When somebody generally sees a cloud, they think, oh, mashallah, rain is happening. But the people of knowledge, they always say, Allahumma sayyiban nafi'an. They say, oh Allah, give us a beneficial rain. Because just because you see a cloud doesn't mean every rain is good. Sometimes rain can have poison in it. Sometimes rain can cause hurricanes and storms. Sometimes it can cause destruction. Sometimes it hails and your glass breaks. Allahumma sayyiban nafi'an. But they saw the cloud and automatically they didn't think of Allah. They said, oh, because we're strong, because we're good, we're getting rain for free, right? And so this was their mentality. So now the rain comes. تدمر كل شيء بأمر ربها فأصبحوا لا يرى إلا مساكنهم. That Allah destroys everything. Everything gets destroyed by the command of the rain's Lord. Meaning, literally, the rain is being commanded, the cloud is being commanded by Allah that destroy everything, right? فَأَصْبَحُوا لَا يُرَى إِلَّا مَسَاكِنُهُم. Their bodies were completely gone. The only thing that you could see were their dwellings, right? كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْقَوْمَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. This is how we deal with the criminals. This is how we punish the criminals. This is how we punish the people that turn away from God. وَفِي عَادٍ إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمُ الرِّيحَ الْعَقِيمِ. In Surah Al-Dhariyat, Allah says that we sent upon Ad a rih al-aqim, a wind that was aqim. Aqim in Arabic, it comes from the word aqama or aqamat. When a wind comes and it has no benefit. What are the benefits of the wind? Let's think for a moment. Number one, wind helps clouds form. Number two, wind helps the weather regulate. You know, when it's hot outside and the wind blows on us, we're like, mashallah, it's great. The third thing that wind does is that wind helps vegetation pollinate. Seeds move from one place to another. But Allah is saying that this wind that we're sending, it's aqim, it has no benefit, no pollination, no good weather, no formation of clouds. That's not what the purpose of this wind is. It's a wind that comes with no benefit, meaning it's a wind of destruction. ما تذر من شيء أتت عليه إلا جعلته كالرميم. Such a wind came upon them that it spared nothing that it touched, nothing that it reached, but it blew through them, right? And it made everything into rotten ruins, nothing, like dirt, right? إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ رِيحًا صَرْصَرًا فِي يَوْمِ نَحْسٍ مُسْتَمِرٍ. That we sent upon these people رِيحًا صَرْصَرًا. We sent a wind that was classified as sarsar. So the first word is aqim, a wind that has no benefit. The second one is sarsar. The scholars, they say sarsar rihu shadidu samum, or rihu shadidatul bard, or rihu shadidatul sawt, or rihu shadidatul hubub. What kind of wind? A very ferocious wind, a very fast wind. In fact, this type of wind is the wind in which coldness is mixed. But one thing that people have to understand, generally when a hurricane forms, a hurricane doesn't form with or a tornado doesn't just form with cold wind. It forms with the combination of cold and hot air together, right? And so Allah is sending a combination of both of these things. Generally, when you look up the translation in the Quran, it says sarsar means cold. But in reality, we know that sarsar means both cold and warm. Samum wal bard, right? And so both of these, they mix together. في يوم نحس مستمر, right? On a day of evil omen, meaning they could see the signs that it's going to be a bad day. Mustamir, and it was continuous, a continuous punishment for these people. And not only was this wind cold, not only was it fast, it was loud. Musawwita, like loud. So now this is the thing that they're going through, almost as if it's a howling cold wind, like the sound of a wolf. Right? And Allah says, Fi yawmi nahsim mustamir. Fi yawm, the word yawm in Arabic actually means one day. But the scholars of tafsir, they say that over here, yawm is not one day. Their punishment was not one day. In fact, it was from the duration of one full week, from one Wednesday to the next Wednesday. And I'll tell you where we get this reference from. But yawm over here is used to mean a period of time, mudda, mutlaqu zaman, right? It was a period of time, not just 24 hours of punishment. So how do we know this? Allah says in another ayah, fi ayyamin nahisat, that there were days of punishment. So in Surah Al-Qamar, it says one day. But in Surah Al-Fussilat, it says days. And so from this, we understand that it was not 24 hours, but it was multiple days, right? And so these people were going through punishment. تنزع الناس كأنهم أعجاز نخل منقعر. That these people, they were تنزع الناس. نزع ينزع means to pull something out. Like, you know how when you pull out a root or when you pull out the weeds, they were literally pulled out like weeds. تنزع الناس كأنهم أعجاز نخل منقعر. That they were like uprooted stems of the date palm trees. right? They were like the roots or the stems of the date palm tree, literally pulled out from the floor, right? And so the scholars, they say that this verse actually means that Allah literally picked them up. He picked them up and He put them into the air. The wind pulled them up into the air. They were scattered across the earth. And eventually, anything that goes up, what happens? It has to come down. Gravity, right? And so Allah pulls them up. And this is, we're laughing, but this is scary stuff, right? Allah pulls them up and He brings them down. They don't land on their feet, they land on their heads. Right? That was their punishment, right? Imagine flipping everybody down and landing, putting them on their heads, right? In fact, they landed on their heads and their necks, snapped, right? So you would literally, for the young kids, I apologize, but you would literally see their head and their body parts in different areas, right? That's how painful. كالنخل منقلع من أصله, like the date palm tree when it's pulled out from its root, two separate parts, right? Now, imagine this. Why does Allah explain their punishment in this way? Weren't these the same people that said, Man ashaddu minna quwwa? Who is stronger than us? They used to say, who is stronger than us? And so Allah showed the strongest people who's really stronger. Allah is really stronger. And so this is exactly what happened to him. This is how they were punished. And what's interesting about this, that they used to walk on the earth with arrogance, but it was the earth and the earth that destroyed them. Literally, their heads smashed against the earth and they died. It wasn't just the wind, right? So the earth that they walked on with arrogance is what is the reason why they died. And that same earth is where they built their lavish homes and their lavish lifestyles. It was the same earth, the same things that they benefited from, in which they used to build the idols and so on and so forth. And so Allah showed them, Man ashaddu minna quwwa, right? Who is stronger, right? And so Ibn Kathir, he says Allah destroyed everything, their property, their animals, their everything, to show them that your engineering, your architecture, nothing will remain after I'm done with you all. Your intelligence, no one will remember you. One of the great scholars of Tariq, his name was Mas'udi, and for those that speak Arabic, you can look his book Muruj al-Dhahab, which is a book of history. There's 3 or 4 books that Muslims rely on for history. One is Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya of Ibn Kathir. There's Tariq al-Tabari, which is a longer history. And then we have Muruj al-Dhahab, which is by Mas'udi. He says that their punishment was from the day of Wednesday to the next Wednesday, and not a single person was left. Now you might be wondering, where does he get this from Wednesday to Wednesday? Allah says in the Quran in Surah Al-Haqqah, سَخَّرَهَا عَلَيْهِمْ سَبْعَ لَيَالٍ وَثَمَانِيَةَ أَيَّامٍ حُسُومًا فَتَرَى الْقَوْمَ فِيهَا سَرْعًا كَأَنَّهُمْ أَعْجَازُ نَخْلٍ خَاوِيَةٍ. That Allah created, He imposed on them a punishment. سَبْعَ لَيَالٍ, 7 nights and 8 days in succession. 7 evenings and 8 days in succession. So that you could see men laying overthrown, meaning they were flipped up, they were scattered everywhere, and they were like hollow trunks of date palms, meaning they were passed away. No existence of life anymore. Then Allah says a very important question to the Prophet. He says, فَهَلْ تَرَى لَهُم مِّن بَاقِيَ يَا مُحَمَّدْ? That, oh Muhammad, do you see any remains of these people? You don't see them. They're gone. The Arabs don't even remember these people. The Arabs, they don't remember. The first time that they're being mentioned is when? They're being mentioned because Allah told the Prophet about their existence. There is no remains of these people. فَهَلْ تَرَى لَهُم مِّن بَاقِيَ? Nothing. And this is why me and you as Muslims, when we look at this, we should never be arrogant. We should never be stubborn. We should never be prideful. Because the reality is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Hadith Qudsi, He says, Al-kibriya'u ridai wal-'azamatu izari. Right? The reality is that the pride is the cloak of Allah. Allah is the only one that deserves to have pride. He's the one that created everything. Greatness is Allah's robe. Allah is the only one that is really great. Right? فَمَنْ نَازَعَنِي وَاحِدًا مِّنْهُمَا قَذَفْتُهُ فِي النَّارِ. That whosoever thinks that they have the right to be prideful, whosoever thinks that they have the right to think that they're great, and they will argue with me about that, they want to challenge me, قَذَفْتُهُ فِي النَّارِ, I'm going to throw them in the fire. Right? Or قَصَمَتْهُ وَلَا أُبَالِي. Right? I'm going to rip them to shreds and I'm not going to care. That's what Allah is saying. No one is allowed to have pride. And these people exemplified that pride. They had such pride in their hearts that Allah showed them who's in charge. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He destroyed all of these people. But who was left? Baqiya Hudun, right? Hud alayhi salam was left, and the people that believed. فَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. Only a few people believed in him, just like the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, right? How was Hud left? Because of the mercy of Allah, because Allah put him in safety, because of the kindness of Allah, because Hud had one thing that they didn't have: Iman billah. Hud believed in Allah. Your key, the thing that you and me take for granted, is our faith in Allah. Ask those people that convert to Islam, what is your greatest commodity? They'll throw everything away, but they will not throw their belief in Allah because they sacrificed for it. That's the example of Hud. Sacrifice. وَلَمَّا جَاءَ أَمْرُنَا نَجَّيْنَا هُودًا وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ. That when the affair was decreed, when the matter happened, when the punishment was over, we saved Hud and we saved the people that believed with him. بِرَحْمَةٍ مِنَّا, by our mercy. Your iman is the reason why Allah will show you mercy on the day of judgment. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُمْ مِنْ عَذَابٍ غَلِيظٍ. That we saved Hud and his people from a very ghalid, a very thick, a very difficult punishment, right? A very severe torment. And so this whole story, by the way, there's a purpose for why we told the whole story of Hud alayhi salam. The purpose is, like I said, the people of Hud, there was no remnants of them left. The Arabs did not remember who the people of Ad were, who the people of Hud were. They did not know. But why is this story brought up in the Quran? This is the most important thing. It's brought up in the Quran to show the Quraysh, the people that followed the Prophet ﷺ, that you, O Quraysh, have no right to be arrogant. You, O Quraysh, have no right to be prideful. You, O Quraysh, if you do exactly what the people of Ad were Arabs too, right? They were Arabs too. The Quran is saying that if you do the same thing, we will punish you in the same exact way. وَلَقَدْ مَكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي مَا إِن مَكَّنَّاكُمْ فِيهِ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ سَمْعًا وَأَبْصَارًا وَأَفْئِدَةً فَمَا أَغْنَى عَنْهُمْ سَمْعُهُمْ وَلَا أَبْصَارُهُمْ وَلَا أَفْئِدَتُهُم مِّن شَيْءٍ. That Allah says that we had firmly established them, meaning we had firmly established the people of Ad, right? We gave them such an establishment that, oh, you Quraysh, you're poor. You have nothing in comparison to the people of Ad. You don't have the luxuries that we gave the people of Ad. And yet you think that you have a right to be prideful. And then what does Allah say? وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ سَمْعًا وَأَبْصَارًا وَأَفْئِدَةً, right? And we gave those people the faculties of hearing, seeing, and hearts. Why does Allah say that? Everybody has heart, seeing, and everybody has all these faculties. But Allah is saying that these people, we didn't give them just any types of eyes. We didn't just give them any types of hearing. These were powerful people. They had super hearing. That these people had super sight. That they had strong hearts. They were powerful people, right? فَمَا أَغْنَى عَنْهُمْ سَمْعُهُمْ وَلَا أَبْصَارُهُمْ وَلَا أَفْئِدَتُهُم مِّن شَيْءٍ. Their hearing, their seeing, their eyes, none of their perception of the world helped them at all. Why? إِذْ كَانُوا يَجْحَدُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. Because they used to deny the ayat, بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And they were completely encircled by that which they used to mock at. Meaning they used to mock the messenger Hud, they used to mock Allah, they used to mock Islam, they used to mock the deen, and it was the deen that captured them. It was Allah that captured them. The same Allah that they turned their backs on is the same Allah that took them to task. وَقَطَعْنَا دَابِرَ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَمَا كَانُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. That Allah didn't even leave for these people a blood ancestry. وَقَطَعْنَا دَابِرَ. We cut their lineage in half, right? Why? Because they denied the verses of Allah. وَمَا كَانُوا بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And these people were not believers. Now, you might be thinking, and we're almost done, bi'ithnillah. You might be thinking in your mind, well, I'm not like the people of Ad. I don't deny Allah. I believe in Allah. Their bloodline is discontinued. Their bloodline is not here. But there are still people on this earth that claim to be Muslims, and even non-Muslims both together, that still do the actions of the people of Ad. What are those actions? Number one is arrogance. Number two is being stubborn. Number three, which is the worst of these things, and you find Muslims still engaged in this, harming the weak and the poor. People taking advantage of each other. People tricking each other. Muslims do this still. In Muslim countries, it's common, right? taking advantage of the weak, taking advantage of the poor, taking advantage of the children, taking advantage of the women, taking advantage of someone that has less than you, right? So you may not be related to the people of Ad in terms of blood, but you could easily be related to the people of Ad in action. And so this is why we have to be careful. So there are a few lessons that I want to say and then we'll finish. Number one is that power is an illusion. Ghurur. Wealth is an illusion. The Pharaoh had power, the Pharaoh had wealth. The people of Ad had power, they had wealth. But even though they had this, eventually it would lead to their downfall. The people of Israel originally, when they were weaker in the time of the Pharaoh, Allah switched it, made them stronger and made the Pharaoh weaker. And then later Allah switched it back again. Wealth and power is not a sign of strength. It's all an illusion, right? The world, the scholars, they say, ad-dunya comes from the word dani, which means lowly. And ad-dunya, it actually comes from when you reach for grapes, like when you reach from grapes. You always try to reach for grapes, and the more you try, the farther they seem, right? Because grapes are generally higher on a vine. And in the same exact way, the power, the wealth, the fame, these are all an illusion. They all end. What is real power? Real power is Imam. Real power is not oppressing others. Real power is listening and not closing your ears when someone is telling you the truth, when they're reminding you of Allah, when they're reminding you of the prophets. Don't become arrogant. Say that this is for me. This is so I become a better person. This is real power, not the things of this world. People are drowning in affluence. People are drowning in leisure. They forget who is higher. Allah is higher, right? They think that nobody can do anything to them. That, oh, I'm going to be strong forever. Just look, a few years back, COVID happened. It turned the whole world upside down, right? We see the punishments of these people. Just the wind destroyed them. Mosquitoes destroy people, right? It's the small things in life that get rid of human beings, as big as human beings are. And so you wa ta'ala grant us Jannatul Firdaus. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never put any Muslim through that type of trial. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك جزاكم الله خيرا.